For buyers who find the Toyota RAV4 or the Mercedes-Benz C-Class too ordinary, we have assembled two of the most unique vehicles on the market today.
That's right. The Range Rover Evoque and Mini Paceman aren't just unique looking. In fact, they're in a class of their own as the only two coupe crossovers available today.
But this isn't going to be your typical AutoGuide comparison test. While the two vehicles do share a lot of similar traits, they are priced astronomically different.
This shootout, like the cars in it, is as unique as a snaggletooth British smile.
The Mini Paceman Cooper S All-4 is powered by the ever-present 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine that makes 181 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque.
Meanwhile, the Range Rover Evoque comes with a larger 2.0T that makes about 60 horsepower more and about 75 extra foot-pounds of torque.
Both of our vehicles came equipped with a 6-speed automatic transmission, but only the Mini can also come with a 6-speed manual transmission. With the automatic transmission, the Cooper S All-4 is officially rated at 23 miles per gallon city and 30 miles per gallon highway.
The Evoque falls 3 miles per gallon short of that in the city and 2 on the highway.
Pricing for the Paceman Cooper S All-4 starts at $29,000, while our test vehicle came in at $33,000.
The Evoque, on the other hand, starts around 45 grand, and our modestly optioned test model costs 46.
The Paceman is essentially a two-door version of the Countryman, which was the four-door Mini. Now, if this sounds confusing, it's because it is. See, the problem with Mini is they're making too many models based on the same theme, and every time they bring out a new one, it gets lost in a sea of its siblings. The only real unique exterior details to the Paceman are these flat black wheels, the hood scoop being relocated to the front bumper, and the sloping rear roofline. Whereas the Evoque stands out in the Range Rover lineup, the Paceman just looks like any other Mini.
A fashion-forward crossover coupe, there's barely an inch of the Evoque that isn't heavily styled. You'll find the same cheese grater grille that you'll see on other pricier Range Rover models and design elements with proven popularity. Sharp headlights, hood vents, and upswept character lines all come together to give this car a unique look that not only beats the Paceman, but is even going so far as to dictate the design direction of other products within the brand. Let's kick things off with what we don't like about the interior of the Evoque, because it's a much shorter list. First, when you get in the car, you feel like you're wearing horse blinders. The sight lines are terrible. Apart from that, the interior material they use to line both the center console and the glove box are a headache. Why is that? Because it's impossible to clean. They detail these press cars before they give them to us, but the person who had it beforehand spilled coffee in there, and despite the detailing company's best efforts, it's still filthy. The rest of the materials stand out and are absolutely fantastic. Brushed aluminum accents through the dashboard and the center stack make the car look absolutely stunning. Apart from that, when you start the car up, this knob pops out to allow you to select drive, reverse, neutral, and sport modes, and the dashboard is lined in this soft touch material that has stitching running across it that really lends this car a premium feel that the Paceman just can't touch. The leather seat upholstery feels rich and the front buckets are well bolstered, and so they should be considering this car's price. But the back seats, on the other hand, both Mike and I agree are much nicer to sit in, and that's probably got a lot to do with the fact that this car has the big glass panoramic roof. It doesn't open up the way the front does in the Mini, but it also lends more headroom and it also gives an airier, more open feeling.
Just like on the outside, inside the Paceman is not much different than other Minis. The giant center speedometer, the toggle switches, the steering wheel mounted tachometer, and the unusual cup holders are all here. The sight lines inside the Paceman aren't that bad, except out the rear window, which is a little tight. It's not nearly as bad as the Evoque, but the optional parking sensors would be a big plus in this vehicle. As well, when you're parking the vehicle, be careful where you choose to put it, because the giant side doors make getting in and out a difficult task. When it comes to back seats, it's no contest. The Evoque Coupe has more headroom, more legroom, and it's just overall more comfortable than the back seat of this Mini. The trunk in the Mini is also quite small, but there is a storage area underneath the load floor, and the back seats fold flat, assuming you pull out the optional cup holders in the back. The Paceman features mini steering, which is one of the best found in any front-wheel drive vehicle. Turn-in is crisp and precise, and there's a lot of feedback when you're taking corners. There is one area where it separates itself from other Minis, and that is in the suspension. Thankfully, the kidney-bursting hard suspension found in most Coupe RS models isn't present here. This is due to a higher ground clearance that allows for more suspension travel. The downside to this softer suspension is, of course, felt in the corners, where this vehicle doesn't have that go-kart feeling that a lot of other Minis do. With 4 wheels to power and nearly 3,300 pounds of Mini to move around, the tiny little engine does have its work cut out for it. The Mini engineers, though, have done their magic and make it feel far more powerful than its 181 horsepower would lead you to believe. Forget Mini's official 0 to 60 time of 7.6 seconds. The low and mid-range torque in this engine make it feel far faster and never really have you sitting there thinking, man, I need more power.
As we've said before, the Evoque is the more powerful of the two. It's also much bigger. Despite that, you really do feel the power. You step on the gas and the car accelerates forward with purpose. That 2-liter turbo really kicks in, and with the all-wheel drive system, you feel the horsepower and torque pulling you forward. You might miss out on some of the pure handling characteristics of the Mini, but this is still a very well-handling crossover. The steering feel is responsive, and cutting quickly from lane to lane if you need to feels really good. Despite the size and power differences, the Evoque and the Paceman are actually fairly similar. They have similar 0 to 60 times. Where they really do start to pull apart, though, is ride height and off-road credibility. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It's debatable how many people are actually going to take something like an Evoque off-road, but it's worth mentioning that you do get the driving modes you'd expect in a Range Rover. Those, of course, are the grass, gravel, and snow mode, the mud and rut mode, and also the sand mode, all of which affect how the car drives. Aside from that, right now we're getting roughly 21 miles per gallon, which falls short of the EPA mid-range highway and city combined estimates, but only by a little bit. A couple of other things that are worth noting about the car. Like I said earlier, it is difficult to see out, but after a couple minutes of driving, it really isn't as hard as you might expect. The one spot where things don't improve is the rear window. It's tiny. In fact, looking into the rear view mirror right now, I only have about 50% of that mirror filled with window. There's one more thing you have to know about this car that you can't get through reading a review or through watching this video. With all that leather, it smells like a Range Rover. In such a strange little segment of the market, being able to stand out is key for both of these vehicles. And while they're both head turners in their own way, the Evoque stands out not only in this small segment, but also within its brand family. And that's more than we can say for the Mini.
It's true, the Mini may be lacking some of the visual appeal or interior refinement of the Evoque, but it does represent a superior value. After all, there's only 2 entries in this market, and the Mini far undercuts the Evoque.
That might be true, but this segment is about being unique, and for that reason, the Evoque takes the win hands down.
For more on this car comparison and others like it, visit AutoGuide.com.